The year was 2159. The human race, once confined to Earth and a handful of neighboring planets, had expanded far beyond the confines of their homeworld. Space exploration had become a regular part of life, with colonies established on distant moons and even foreign planets. However, as the human race ventured deeper into the cosmos, they encountered many strange and sometimes dangerous species, some hostile, others curious. None, however, was more unexpected than the alien species known as the Allura. The Allura were a species of nomadic, amphibious beings from the planet Zira, a world covered in murky swamps, dense jungles, and thick, viscous rivers. They were covered in a combination of algae-like skin and scales that allowed them to thrive in their planet's humid, toxic atmosphere. The Allura were not known for their beauty nor their intelligence, but they were incredibly resourceful and had a strong, almost playful attitude toward the humans they encountered. One particular Allura girl, named Zira, was unlike any other alien the humans had met. She had an unyielding curiosity and an innate desire to understand the humans, their culture, and their ways. And she made it her personal mission to become the closest, most unpredictable alien friend to humanity. Zira's fascination with humans had begun with their strange ability to exist in places where she and her species could not. Humans could survive on dry land, breathe air that was harmful to her, and interact with environments that were inhospitable to her kind. But it was their strange devices and sprays that caught her eye. They seemed to make everything easier, cleaner, and more convenient in a way that was alien to her. Zira had been following a group of human explorers who had landed on Zira. The humans were there to catalog new species and gather resources, and Zira had watched them for days. She admired their shiny tools and technology, but what fascinated her most were the sprays they used, especially a small bottle carried by one of the explorers, Dr. Thomas Clark. She had never seen anything like it before, and its power to clean up filth, especially the dirt, muck, and algae that plagued the swampy world of Zira, was irresistible. One day, she couldn't help herself. As Dr. Clark and his team were struggling to get through the dense marshland, Zira appeared before them, covered in the signature mud of Zira, her skin dripping with the swamp's filth. Her green eyes, sharp and mischievous, gleamed as she approached, standing in front of Dr. Clark. "I'm waiting, human. Hit me with your spray," Zira declared, her voice teasing, laced with curiosity. Dr. Clark, a seasoned explorer who had seen his share of alien species, paused for a moment. His eyes scanned the muddy creature before him, and for a moment, he was unsure if he had heard her right. But then, he realized she wasn't asking for anything dangerous. She was simply fascinated by the tool that had made life in the swamp bearable for the humans. He chuckled, shaking his head. "You want this?" he asked, holding up the small spray bottle that had been his companion for days. Zira grinned, nodding enthusiastically, "Yes. I want to see what it does. You humans have all sorts of interesting things. The spray makes things clean, right?" Dr. Clark's curiosity piqued, and he cautiously aimed the spray at Zira. As the nozzle released the cleaning solution, Zira closed her eyes and let out an appreciative hum. The cleaning solution shimmered on her skin, dissolving the mud and muck that had accumulated over her body. Her scales glistened beneath the solution, revealing a deeper shade of green that looked more beautiful than the filthy exterior she had been trapped in. She looked at Dr. Clark, surprised and delighted. "That's incredible. I feel so fresh," she exclaimed, her voice playful and excited. Dr. Clark couldn't help but laugh at her enthusiasm. "It's just a cleaner, nothing too special," he said. "You sure like it, though?" Zira tilted her head, a mischievous smile spreading across her face. "Humans make everything so much better," she mused. But it's not just the spray I'm interested in, human. Dr. Clark raised an eyebrow. Oh, what else could possibly intrigue you? Zira's grin widened as she leaned forward, her hands resting on her hips. You. I like you, human. You're funny and kind. And I've been watching you for a while. You seem different from the others. The human explorers, caught off guard by Zira's sudden shift, exchanged confused glances. Zira wasn't like the other creatures they had encountered on their travels. She wasn't interested in trading resources or attacking them. Instead, she seemed almost too interested in them as people. What do you mean, different? Dr. Clark asked, intrigued by her words. Zira stepped closer to him, her gaze still locked onto his. You're not scared of me. Most humans would have run away from me long ago. But you're brave. You don't mind the swamp. And you've helped me, even though I'm so different. Dr. Clark chuckled softly, shaking his head. You're not so different from us, Zira. You're just another being trying to make sense of your world. Zira stepped back, still smiling, but her tone became serious. I may be from a different world, but I like yours. I want to learn more about you, Thomas Clark. Dr. Clark's heart skipped a beat. It was unusual for a member of any species to form such a bond with humans, let alone an alien. He wasn't sure how to respond to Zira's unexpected affections, but he knew that, in that moment, something strange had begun between them. Days passed, and Zira continued to follow the humans, particularly Dr. Clark. Her fascination with them grew, as did her bond with the medic. She learned more about his world and the ways of humans, and he learned more about her culture, her people, and her planet. They shared stories, laughter, and even the occasional moment of silence, where nothing but the winds of Jurla and the sound of the swamp filled the air. Zira's curiosity about the humans never waned, and she grew more and more attached to Dr. Clark. She realized that, while the other humans saw her as an exotic curiosity or a creature to be studied, Dr. Clark saw her as something more. He saw her for who she truly was, a person, not just a species. And it wasn't long before Zira realized that she was falling in love with him. She had never imagined it possible, an alien princess and a human medic. But the more time she spent with him, the more it became clear. She had found something on Jurla that she never thought she'd find. Love, compassion, and understanding, not just for her species, but for who she was as a person. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains of Jurla, casting a golden glow over the swamp, Zira took a deep breath and stood before Dr. Clark. Thomas, she said softly, I don't need your spray anymore. I've realized that you've cleaned my soul, not just my skin. Dr. Clark looked at her, his heart pounding. He had come to care deeply for her, too. Zira, he whispered, stepping closer to her. I never thought I would fall for someone like you. Zira smiled, her eyes sparkling. Maybe we're not so different after all, human. And so, amidst the swamp of Jurla, two beings from different worlds came together, bound by the universal language of love and the unexpected connection between them.